camera. Excerpts from the Muji's book. Go all the way, beyond opening and closing. Some people have had a taste of the truth, a glimpse. They have opened, and it is wonderful. But then, after some time, they feel a sense of closing up again. So they set a firm intention to open up for good. They come to me with this news and ask me to remove whatever obstacles are left to their total freedom. This sense of opening and closing has been granted more importance than it really deserves. The great joy and harmony of opening and the more personal and tight sense of closing are both conditions that are observed from a deeper place. I'm constantly pointing to this witnessing because you are the witness. All that is seen is subject to change, including this sense of opening and closing, in and outness, coming and goingness, whereas the witness is stable. Many seekers report finding and losing the sense of freedom. This is because they are still trying to use what is, by nature, changeful as a reference for themselves. We can invest a lot of time and energy in watching the changeful, hoping that one day the beautiful manifestations will remain in place. But that's not how it works. It's not that we will come to a level of the manifest that will never change. It's more important to discover where we are looking from and who or what we are looking as. Up until now, we have been so caught in the bubble of what is being seen that we have forgotten about the source of that perception. And when I say seen, I don't mean just in terms of images or sensory impressions, but also in terms of the effect generated on the body and the accompanying feelings. All of this is part of perception. In reality, there is no such thing as someone being able to stay permanently in the self. No one has ever done it. The Buddha couldn't do it, neither could Christ do it. Rather, the self has been recognized as what we are, and is effortlessly and timelessly perfect, always. In truth, there is no actual in and out of the self, no fluctuation, for these are seen to arise within the immutable awareness. Don't pay so much attention to the sense of opening and closing, otherwise the mind will use this to perpetuate the feeling that you are not yet what you already are. It will argue, if you were the self, you wouldn't be experiencing such fluctuations. That experience of opening and closing is still phenomenal in the light of great seeing. But deeper than that, one is open in a way that isn't non-phenomenal. We don't call it openness because it doesn't have the counterpart of closedness. It is beyond opening and closing. Thoughts don't necessarily mean thinking. For a while, thoughts may continue to appear, but the arising of a thought does not, in itself, amount to thinking. A thought without belief has no power, but a thought with belief can start a war or begin to heal the pain of an entire nation. It is your belief in thoughts and your identification with them that breathes life into them and can cause great pain and suffering. Much like the actors in a play won't come on stage until the audience is seated, thoughts won't perform without you, the perceiver of them. Thoughts cannot think themselves because they are not sentient. Therefore, they cannot by themselves turn into thinking. For thinking to occur, thoughts need to link up with the thinker thought, the I, that is interested in the play and its outcome. The same thought that troubles you may arise in another and pass by barely noticed. No thought has any inherent meaning or power. It is you, through conditioning, habit, belief, and identification, who gives meaning to the particular thoughts. Once you have become identified with a thought and are seemingly pulled into thinking, the watcher of that thought play somehow also becomes a part of the play. However, that which knows all of this is not caught in the bubble of the play. In as much a wider field of awareness, we are able to see even the attention being pulled into identifying the thoughts. Stay in this space of neutrality, in this neutral place of witnessing. This is the real self. If I were to urge you to stop your thoughts, could you accomplish such a feat? It would be like swatting flies outdoors. The more you go after them, the more they seem to appear. We cannot place memories, worries, and other thoughts under arrest, so let the thought flies buzz. But shift your attention towards awareness itself. Just let the thoughts play, and you stay as awareness. Compulsive thought activity will naturally begin to subside without effort. In a sense, you are no longer feeding the animals, and so they soon disappear. Freedom is free, but not cheap. Discovering our true self is akin to finding that priceless gem, but we may not value it because we are still too invested in the familiar distractions of the world. We are too easily tempted by the ego mind and its idle promises. All too often I hear reports from those who recognize the spaciousness of the self and the joy of being, but who then quickly go out into the red light district of the mind and squander in it. Then they come back saying, I feel a bit dull. Maybe I really should have given myself more of a chance to marinate in those insights. One has to take this opportunity seriously because freedom is free, but not cheap. You have everything. You are alive and have an urge that impels you towards the truth. Something inside of you is calling out for freedom, and you want to hearken to that call. But something also divides your attention and keeps you back. You must slay the dragon of deceit. You have the power to prevail, not as powerless little person, but as the all-encompassing oneness. You have great power, most of which you have not yet even begun to use. But you are here to recognize and claim that power. Bring your entire being to the table of truth. Amen.